Royal Communications Incorporated. Good evening and welcome to King's News, Broom 45 minutes news about Liberia, Africa, and our one world. Today is Monday, January 5, 2026, and I'm Shamondia presenting. In the headlines, former President George Weah clarifies Chinese government suspension of two overhead bridges during his regime. Says it was due to geopolitical tension between China and the United States. About 16 persons arrested in Broom County for selling foreign traditional medicines. Local chief Papa Queer attributes the arrest to lack of permit from Ministry of Internal Affairs. Away from home, the Cuban government says 32 of its nationals were killed during the U.S. operation to seize Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro. And men have violently stormed a village in Niger State, killing at least 30 people and looting shops, state authorities said. These plus the news bulletin, voices of those making the news out of package. We'll take a short break to be right back. Welcome back at this juncture. We join Janet Peseman with the news bulletin.
Former President George Weah has provided clarity on the Chinese government's suspension of the construction of two overhead bridges during his administration. The former president attributed the suspension to geopolitical tensions between China and the United States. In 2018, during a forum on China, Africa Cooperation Summit in Beijing, the Chinese government announced several development projects for Liberia, including the construction of two overhead bridges aimed at easing traffic congestion around the ministerial complex and along SKD Boulevard. According to Weah, this administration has completed all the required documentation for the bridge construction, but declined to become entangled in international political disputes. Weah added the Chinese government was seeking Liberia's involvement in what he described as broader political disagreement with the United States, an approach he said his administration firmly rejected. And he further explained that his administration's decision was guided by Liberia's long-standing historical ties and shared values with the United States of America. The former Liberian leader emphasized Liberia's traditional diplomatic stance for neutrality, noting that the country maintained cordial and cooperative relations with both global and powers. About 16 persons have been arrested in Broom County, Cocoa District for allegedly selling foreign traditional medicines without proper authorization. According to report, the arrest took place after the local authorities launched crackdown on unlicensed medical practitioners in the area. The town chief of David Dan's town in Kokoya, Papa Kwei, ordered the arrest, saying the suspects lack permits from the Ministry of Internal Affairs. Those arrested include 6 females and 7 males with children. Chief Kwei cited unclear communication about the medicines being sold and lack of permits as reasons for the arrest. Said the suspects do not speak English and they are clearly explaining about the medicine they sell. The paramount chief reflected that such activities often lead to disastrous outcomes, fueling his decision to take strict action. Liberia has joined other member states of the United Nations Security Council in calling for the immediate release of Venezuela President Nicolas Maduro. The statement came down after United States government arrested Venezuela President Nicolas Maduro. Speaking Monday during an emergency meeting at UN headquarters in New York, Liberia's permanent representative to the United Nations, Ambassador Louis Brown, addressed the situation on behalf of the A3 countries, Liberia, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Somalia. Ambassador Brown urged all parties to de escalate what he described as tension and adhere strictly to international law, emphasizing the need for peaceful and political solutions. Brown's statement aligned the A3 position with that of the African Union, which has called for respect for Venezuela's sovereignty, territorial integrity, and the principle enshrined in the United Nations Charter. He warned that continual instability in Venezuela could have broader circumstances, consequences for regional and global peace and security. However, Ambassador Brown re-echoed Liberia's strong condemnation of alleged U.S. actions reports that include claims of an attack and removal of Venezuela's long-serving President Nicolas Maduro. The Supreme Motorcycle and Transport Union of Liberia is calling for immediate dissolution of the Ministry of Information for allegedly failing to carry out his constitutional responsibilities. Addressing a press conference Monday, President of the Union, Chokon Gray, urged the national legislature to ensure Ministry of Information is dissolved. The Ministry of Information was established by an act of the national legislature in 1965 with the mandate to disseminate factual information about government activities and to serve as the principal link between the government, the media, and the general public. He also accused Information Minister Jeremy Matthew Pia and his deputies of undermining the integrity and reputation of the ministry. According to Gray, the ministry under the Unity Party-led government has deviated from its core mandate and is allegedly becoming a platform for the use of profane language and attacks against opposition politicians and other permanent members of the society. The union's president at the same time cautioned President Joseph Boakai against highlighting projects such as the painting of buildings, police booths, and repair of high pumps as major developmental achievements in his upcoming State of the Nation's address. Deputy House Speaker Thomas Fala has vowed not to vote for former President George Weah in 2029 general and presidential election. Fala's position against George Weah and the Coalition for Democratic Change has intensified debate over political loyalty and principle within Liberia's legislature. In an interview Monday on state radio, the expelled member of the former ruling party, the Coalition for Democratic Change, Fala declared that he would never support George Weah or the CDC in any election, regardless of circumstances. He further stated that his political alliance now rests entirely with President Joseph Boakai, citing that even if Boakai were to withdraw from electoral politics, and he and his family will support any candidate President Boakai select in 2029 election. Deputy Speaker Fala, a four-term representative elected on the CDC ticket, was once among the party's most vocal campaigners during the 2023 elections. He actively urged voters to prioritize the re-election of George Weah and CDC over his personal political interests, but is now vowing not to vote for the former president in any election. The legislative press pool was congratulated uh, has congratulated Augustine Sarr and Liberian Senate new Director of Press and Public Affairs. In a press statement issued Monday, Legispool expressed confidence in its former member experience and understanding of parliamentary affairs. According to Legispool, Sarr experience will add value to the Senate's public communication and engagement with the Liberians. Augustine Sarr, a member of the legislative press pool, has affairs and of the Liberian Senate and officially took office on Monday. The Liberian Senate Press and Public Affairs Director worked in the Liberian landscape for several years before assuming office. He worked with Truth FM and ELBC, among several other media institutions, where he is said to have built a reputation for professionalism and credibility. Legislative reporting. Legispool further stated that as an institution committed to strengthening legislative journalism, it wishes success as he take on national responsibility. Liberia Agriculture Commodity Regulatory Authority has commenced a nationwide coffee Liberia Card Seed Nursery initiative aimed at reporting and branding Liberia's indigenous coffee for both domestic and international markets. LACRA's Deputy Director General for Operations and Technical Services, Alpha Gongoli, disclosed that the seeding process have already started in 3 counties, including Bong, Lofa, and Nima counties, and will later expand to Bomi County before moving to eastern Liberia. Speaking in an interview in Vonchaman, Lofa County, Gongoli said a total of 200,000 Liberia coffee seeds will be placed on nurseries across the targeted counties. According to him, the project, which is collaborative effort between LACRA, the European Union, and the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, is expected to play a key role in revitalizing Liberia's coffee sector, strengthening the agricultural value chain, and positioning the Liberia as a competitive coffee producing nation in the region. More than 45 women in each of those counties have been hired to fill soil into polythene bags that are used for seed planting. And the new leadership at the National Commission of Disabilities has challenged persons living with disabilities in Liberia to respect the law and uphold unity within the disability community. The Commission's Executive Director, Aaron Wright, said the disability community should live in peace and avoid being clouded into political activities. Apostle Wright made the remarks during a long-term meeting with head of disabled organizations from all across the country and Congo Town from across the country. He maintained that persons living with disabilities have a critical role to play in Liberia's rebuilding process and can be meaningful contribution to national development if they remain united and focused.
Jen and Persimmon with the news bulletin. The news bulletin is a regular feature on King's Newsroom. A reminder you're listening to King's Newsroom, 45 minutes news about Liberia, Africa, and our one world. Stories we following tonight. Former President George Weah clarifies Chinese government suspension of 2 overhead bridges during his regime. Says it was due to geopolitical tension between China and the United States. About 16 persons arrested in Bong County for selling foreign traditional medicines. Local chief Papa Queer attributes the arrest to lack of permit from Ministry of Internal Affairs. Away from home, the Cuban government says 32 of its nationals were killed during the U.S. operation to seize Venezuelan leader. Armed men have violently stormed a village in Nigeria's Niger state, killing at least 30 people and looting shops, state authorities said. We'll take a break to be back with voices of the newsmakers. Welcome back and thanks for being there. Former President George Weah has provided clarity on the Chinese government suspension of the construction of two overhead bridges during his administration. The former Labyrinth leader attributed the suspension to geopolitical tensions between China and the United States.
The circumstance that the Chinese government face now is something that will come together. Most people believe that simply because they gave us something, so we'll get involved with what the politics. I was the president, I said, no. If they charge you for human rights, let's discuss it. You cannot, Liberia will not come to the middle. Because Liberia is a partner to America, and Liberia is a partner to you. That's what you're fighting. That will come. As soon as you have been there, while we're talking, we'll suspend, while we still want to do well, but later on. And later on, we're not there. So it's a sin. Nothing new. Nothing new. There's so many things new. There's so many things new. Next election, we're going to go against this. All of you are going to the police, all of you go against us. I can say, 12 years. And the same government by the state of 100 days, they will build all the roads from Saturday. They use I won't say use, we allow them to vote for this element. And as these are going to see on radio and your government, big government. But they don't understand what they came from. When they came from the street. So when they came from Chicken, we brought them, we came to understand the time, we be the best guy, vote for him. And these are the people on TV talking that of rubbish.
Former President George Weah is speaking. About 16 persons have been arrested by local authorities in Broom County, Kokoya District for allegedly selling foreign traditional medicines without proper authorization. According to a report, the arrest took place after the local authorities launched crackdown on unlicensed medical practitioners in the area. The town chief of David Dane's town in Kokoya, Papa, quit, although the arrest, saying the suspects lacked permits from the Ministry of Internal Affairs.
People were entering here illegally, so we've been doing patrol through up, and the patrol is extending. This morning, I just received a call from one of my officers saying that there's people that enter, but they pass through the gate. For me, I know that I don't have problem with passing through the gate, but I know that there was a problem. They were trying to chase them and arrested about 17 of them at the scene here. After the resident 16, I tried to chase the immigration to know how they enter here. I informed the immigration, they came on a call, they told me that yes, the people enter with a lesson person. I said, thank you, that's your job. But where they came to do here, the caution that I posed to them, they were keeping them here. They not get one people that allow them to go and sell medicine to our people. They not even speak English. But everybody get a fair filled with medicine, see they came to sell. Which are the guy that you want to speak to the people? This is a bunker. You don't even speak English, and I ain't talking about manner or pedal or pastor. So I have problem with them. If you see them here, this is what me to hold them here, trying to ask them to tell me who brought them here, how they end there. Where is a paper from Internet that said that other rather you to come here and sell medicine? No paper. So we're keeping them here to ask them from there. If they came to sell medicine here, this is a medicine selling area, if they don't get paper, they will go back to Internet Affairs or head office to permit them to come and sell medicine. If so, if we find out that no way, absolutely, we're going to drag them.
Okay.
I will tell you for free under my administration, we will drag it to the fullest. If you come here with any medicine agents, you not get medicine people, I will hold you and take it back. Don't when they come to the area when they go, disaster will take place. Ruben, trouble will be going on. Okay. Because the medicine said, you don't know the medicine, they may not speak English. Which are the medicine you know you send to him or you buy from him? It will bring problem to our community. So we look at it to always chase them, to look at them, understand the medicine. If not so much, I'm telling you that as a child for the area, I will not allow it. You want to go back to the ministry, let it give you paper proper, you bring it to me here, and you carry your medicine, you sell your market, put on the football field, you want to sell yourself. But you don't get people, when I hear, you will not sell medicine. They will be waiting to go there, and I want to take them there to go into the medicine registration that will permit them to sell in the place. But if they're not willing to go and do that registration, I want to walk them through the gate and leave the area, and I want to see them here with the kind of medicine.
Papa Kwei, is the town chief of David Dean's town in Kokoya, District Bon County. The Supreme Motorcycle and Transport Union of Liberia is calling for immediate dissolution of the Ministry of Information for allegedly failing to carry out its constitutional responsibilities. Addressing a press conference Monday, President of the Union, Trogon Grade, urged the National Legislature to ensure the Ministry of Information is dissolved.
Supreme Motorcycle Transport Union that will call on the national legislature with the full support of President Joseph Imam Baka Sr. to dissolve the Ministry of Information and ask President Baka not to mention the following in the 2026 Sona message scheduled for the third working Monday of January, which include eating a building, police booth, hair pumps, and the most talk about $22 million to renovate or rehabilitate all major roads. Because it for fact of a presidential achievement, reading through the act creating both LBS and MOI, I'm kindly recommending to the government to dissolve the information ministry and combine their staff or employee with LBS staff are not professional and lack everything it takes to disseminate government policies, programs, and news. They got appointed by President Waka. They have turned the entire Ministry of Information into the Ministry of Press Conferences, disinformation, terroristic threat, man, and power causing place. It's a place that is widely known to be a place of man causing and power causing. I mean, the information ministry should be a regulated media institution that you see vetted. The last time I checked, I listened to the information ministry referring to a former president as he get mosquito in. Imagine you talk about bad content. So the epicenter of bad content is the Ministry of Information. And
Trogon Grade is the president of the Supreme Motorcycle and Transport Union of Liberia. Liberia has joined other member states of the United Nations Security Council in calling for the immediate release of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. The statement comes day after United States government arrested Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. Speaking Monday during an emergency meeting at UN headquarters in New York, Liberia's permanent representative to the United Nations, Ambassador Louis Brown, addressed the situation on behalf of the A3 countries in Liberia, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Somalia.
As our flag, the Lone Star, is installed in these halls, we mark more than a ceremonial change. It is a defining moment in Liberia's national journey and a reflection of President Boykai's enduring belief that peace is both a privilege and certainly a duty. Through commitment to democracy, institutional reforms, and national reconciliation, Liberia has met the challenge. More than 22 years after the comprehensive peace agreement, Liberia stands peaceful, democratic, and stable. Our flag now flies here not as a symbol of recovery, but as a symbol of responsibility and a testament of our readiness to serve. After 65 years, Liberia returns to the Security Council through its first full elected mandate, supported by 181 member states. That vote to us reflects global confidence in Liberia's voice and in the values President Boykai has continued to articulate. The values of dialogue over division, cooperation over conflict, and responsibility over isolation. Let's be clear. Liberia is here because multilateralism worked. because the Security Council acted with resolve, because the African Union and ECOWAS stood firm, and because partners across the world believed that even nations emerging from conflict.
Mr. President, the A3 aligns itself with the recent communique of the African Union on the situation in the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela and continues to monitor developments there with deep concerns. In particular, we note reports regarding the detention of President Nicolas Maduro and his wife and incidents involving Venezuelan institutions. Such developments present serious challenges not only to Venezuela's internal stability, but also underscore the imperative to safeguard the broader peace and security of the region. The A3 remains steadfast in its commitment to the fundamental principles of international law, including the full respect for the sovereignty and territorial integrity of states, as enshrined in the Charter of the United Nations, in the interest of regional stability and international peace. We believe these are essential foundations for international cooperation and peaceful coexistence. Our position underscores the importance of dialogue, the peaceful settlement of disputes, and respect for constitutional and institutional frameworks. Mr. President, the complex situation in Venezuela requires a comprehensive response that is both inclusive and nationally owned. We continue to hold that a sustainable and peaceful resolution can only be found through constructive dialogue among Venezuelans themselves, with genuine respect for the aspiration and rights of the Venezuelan people, and with the constructive support of the international community. The A3 expresses its solidarity with the people of Venezuela and reiterates the African Union's commitment to peace, stability, and mutual respect among nations and regions.
Liberia's permanent representative to the United Nations, Ambassador Louis Brown. A reminder, you're listening to King's News, Broom, 45 minutes news about Liberia, Africa, in our one word. Stories we follow in tonight. Former President George Weah clarifies Chinese government suspension of 2 overhead bridges during his regime. Says it was due to geopolitical tensions between China and the United States. About 16 persons arrested in Brown County for selling foreign traditional medicines. Local Chief Papa Koye attributes the arrest to lack of permit from Ministry of Internal Affairs. Away from home, the Cuban government says 32 of its nationals were killed during a U.S. operation to seize Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. Armed men have violently stormed a village in Nigeria's Niger state, killing at least 30 people and looting shops, state authorities have said. We'll take a break to be back with more voices. Welcome back and thanks for being there. Deputy House Speaker Thomas Fowler has vowed not to vote for former President George Weah during the 2029 general presidential elections. Fowler's position against George Weah and the Coalition for Democratic Change has intensified debate over political loyalty and principle within Liberia's legislature.
I will inform in the kissing children, put the adults, young people together and say no. Many times I will call and say, no, this is the direction. I said, no, my direction will focus on the CDC and George Weah. In fact, to the point, I told the people that don't vote me. Start to know, don't vote me, my parents, don't vote me, vote George Weah and the CDC. Go look at the numbers there.
First time in the history of local accounting.
So you are committed in essence.
So in essence, you 100%. I'm not going, no, that's no reason. Nothing can pull me anymore. What was this is politics. No, except Joseph Barker is not in the process. And I'm telling you, even if Joseph Barker is not involved, can we put down record? Joseph Barker put an any individual, that's where me, my family, I'm talking about other people, my followers, they have the right. But the people that I got control of, my wife, my children, those that live and benefit from my soil, my followers, we going to the way Joseph Barker and never be in the straight.
Deputy House Speaker Thomas Fala. The new leadership of the National Commission on Disabilities has challenged persons living with disability in Liberia to respect the rule of law and uphold unity within the disabled community. The Commission's Executive Director, Aaron Wright, said the disability community should live in peace and avoid being clouded into political activities. Apostle Wright made the remarks during a one-day meeting with heads of disabled organizations from across the country in Congo Town.
You are here today in a meeting. I don't want you to just see yourself in this meeting as I mean myself. I want you to understand your presence in this meeting is representing the overall community in Liberia. The commission is 100% willing to work with the union and making sure that the people, we put in place a correct system that will also be taken from them. We'll have it at our database. We are not going to work in isolation of NUO. We're going to work together. The community is a community of peace. It's not a community of politics. It's not a community of conflict. It's not a community of confusion. It's a community of peace. And one thing we must understand, our community is not a community that have people that just dependent on people. Rather, we are a community to help in the rebuilding process of Liberia. So we are not just there to look up to people to give us. Rather, we are there to also help and say we can do this to the community. The old days are gone. I say it for the third time. The old days are gone. Now we have a new day. A new day where people will see somebody with disability and will never know that this person has a disability. In order to become a member, in order to be catered to by the Liberian government, you have to be strategically placed. Like, take for instance, you cannot just get a group of people just go and stay somewhere and cause noise and say we are disabled and the people don't want to take care of us. No, those days are gone. We should also know within this community just how an ordinary person can cause problems and they can be arrested and carried to court. In this community, you can also be arrested and carried to court. So I want you to respect the law of this community. This community is not an all-law community. It's a community with laws. It's a community with sound people. It's a community with educated people. Don't make the world to look at us differently. We are sound and we are ready to support the rescue agenda.
Is Apostle Aaron Wright, Executive Director of the National Commission on Disability. The Chief Executive Officer of the Thomond Development Alliance, William Thomond, has accused Bon County Representative Mama Briggs Mensah of failing to account for more than $5 million Liberian reportedly provided her by former Vice President Joe Howard Taylor in 2023 for women empowerment initiatives. William Thompson emphasized that Representative Briggs reportedly pocket funds that are given by the Bowie Peace Foundation to bolster anti-drug efforts in the district.
In 2023, 2024, we had a lot of support into the district as well, directly Manager Taylor, the former vice president, directly gave millions of dollars, and I think $5 million to the lawmaker for the union. They are not benefiting nothing from it. And of recent, there was support that came for the fight against drugs, from the Broom Foundation. And nothing has been done. No effort has been made. And this is if people, if state actor entrust you with resources for your people, it is not used genuinely for the development of the district. And it creates big problem. No one want to give the money anymore. So the district has been connected, to corruption basically. That's the reason why since 2021 there's no report, no annual report. You can follow, you can investigate. There's no report in our district from our lawmaker. I will continue admonishing them for us to have a mind to reconcile our district. Elections over, people that support them or not, we can work together in unison, to develop our district. That's why we are here, because there is the only thing that we have here today, or they chase you anywhere, in right here. So we have to work, in unison to help our community. And then another thing, I push for the citizens, of our district to engage this the 2026 of something that we have started. Let us keep helping ourselves. Let us help ourselves. Don't feel complacent and say, okay, the lawmaker is not helping you, so I'm going to say, okay, what a lawmaker have, if decided not to share with you, the pocket it, fine. Let's work together. The little resources we put together to help our community with it. She's just one person that decided to put things away. So let's leave her as she is and keep working together to help our people, to help ourselves for the betterment of our community.
Chief Executive Officer of the Thompson Development Alliance, William Thompson. Liberia Agriculture Commodity Regulatory Authority has commenced a nationwide coffee Liberica seed nursery initiative aimed at promoting and rebranding Liberia's indigenous coffee for both domestic and international markets. LACRA's Deputy Director General for Operations and Technical Services, Alpha Gonglo, disclosed that the seeding process have already started in 3 counties, including Bong, Lofa, and Nimba.
In a fee to make sure that these share house constructions of the 200,000 nursery that is to be established here for local coffee, which is a coffee Liberica, how to take place here. I'm going to remain here and make sure that the share house construction is completed and the 200,000 quality baby filled in before I can leave from this country. What we are doing here is going to add more value to the community. And not only to the community, but also to the entire nation, because the city alone is going to improve their farming activities. And before we give you a city, these are some of the things that as a government entity that are responsible to regulate and provide some technical services to farmers are going to make sure that before we give you a city, we're going to send our technicians in their field on their various farms to be able to monitor and advise them what to do that will make them to be able to produce better.
LACRA Deputy Director General for Operations and Technical Services, Alpha Gonglo. Away from home, the Cuban government says that 2 of its nationals were killed during the U.S. operation to seize Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro. It described the dead as members of its armed forces and intelligence agencies were killed in combat actions, declaring 2 days of national mourning. The armed forces added that Cubans fell after fierce resistance in direct combat against the attackers or as a result of bombardments of installations. Unarmed men have violently stormed a village in Nigeria's Niger state, killing at least 30 people and looting shops, state authorities have said. The attackers emerged from a forest near the village of Kasuan Danji on Saturday and set fire to the local market, looted shops, and kidnapped an unspecified number of people, police said. The gunmen entered the town on motorcycles carrying weapons, rounded up people, and then proceeded to slaughter them, while others were shot dead, a local journalist told the BBC. Attackers and kidnapping by criminal gangs known as bandits have been a problem in Nigeria for years, but reports in western and central regions have spiked recently. Well, on that note, that's how we come to the near end of this edition of King's News Broom. But before we leave, a quick reminder of stories we followed in the headlines. Former President George Weah clarifies Chinese government suspension of 2 overhead bridges during his regime. Says it was due to geopolitical tensions between China and the United States. About 16 persons arrested in Broom County for selling foreign traditional medicines. Local chief Papa Queer attributes the arrest to lack of permit from Ministry of Internal Affairs. Away from home, the Cuban government says 32 of its nationals were killed during the U.S. operation to seize Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro. Armed men have violently stormed a village in Nigeria's Niger state, killing at least 30 people and looting shops, state authorities have said. Many thanks to our reporters, correspondents, and all those who helped in making this edition of King's News Broom a success. Jen and Seman brought you the news bulletin. Seman Juice sat at control and handled the technical aspect of this edition. On behalf of the team, I'm Shemodale. I present it. Thanks for listening and watching.